Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about classics I thought I would love versus classics I actually loved, and I'm going to be splitting these into three sections. The first is classics I thought I would like but I didn't like, classics I did think I would like and I did actually like, and then finally classics I didn't think I would like and I actually liked. Before I start, I want to say I'm aiming to hit 500 subscribers before the end of June, and I'm doing all sorts of reading and writing content and a few vlogs here and there, so if you're into that sort of thing, please make sure to like and subscribe. The first section of books are classics that I thought I would like but I didn't actually like, and the first one is one I've spoken about on this channel before, and that is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. So The Old Man and the Sea is about an old fisherman who has gone a very long time without catching any fish. So one day he goes out way further into the sea in order to have an actual chance at catching a fish. This was as boring as it sounds. I didn't have extraordinary hopes for this, but I genuinely thought I would like it because it's set by the sea and I love seaside books, and it's a short book and I've heard a lot about Ernest Hemingway, but this was so disappointing. It was underwhelming and ineffective and so incredibly boring, even though it was so short. I understand the meaning of the book and the allegory and all the metaphors in the actual text and what everything means and stands for, but you cannot decipher that from the book alone, and that's something that I hate. I shouldn't have to do research for a book to make sense. I love researching and I love researching classics, but I shouldn't need to do that in order to like a book and in order for a book to make sense or have any depth in it. The next book is sort of half in this section, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I had such high hopes for this. So many people recommended it to me. I was so excited to start with Jane Austen. It's just a classical romance book, and unfortunately I DNF'd it at about 100 pages in. I could not get into it. Everything felt so passive and I was so uninterested and bored every time I picked it up. I am going to try this book again this year, and I have other Jane Austen books, so my opinion on this might change. Next on this list is Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector, and this is just a bunch of musings and ideas and thoughts by Clarice Lispector. This was about 80 pages or 90 pages, and again somehow it felt so incredibly long. Most of it was just incoherent. I didn't even understand what she was saying, and when I did, it just felt so useless to me. Most of it were just shadows of beautiful thoughts and ideas that weren't fleshed out or strung together well at all. I don't think I'm going to be trying anything else by Clarice Lispector, but like I said, there were some really beautiful quotes in here. And finally on this list is The Outsider or The Stranger by Albert Camus, and this is about a man who is nihilist, so he doesn't believe that there's any point to anything in this world or in life, and he commits a senseless act of violence in the course of this story, and he has to deal with this being someone that is a nihilist and doesn't see the point to anything. This was such an interesting premise, and again, so many people recommended him to me, and I enjoyed it more than the others. I thought that there were some good speeches and some ideas that were really interesting. Overall, on the whole, I found it underwhelming and it didn't do what I was hoping it would do, and I felt like there was so much potential that was wasted in this book. I am going to be trying more books by Albert Camus though. The next section is classics that I thought I would love and I actually did love, and the first is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I was so excited for this. I had already read a Franz Kafka book before this that I loved, and it's his most famous work and also his shortest. I think it's his shortest, and I wasn't disappointed. I do like another one of his books more though, and I'm going to talk about it in the next section. But The Metamorphosis is about a man who wakes up as a bug and he finds that his family and society as a whole has discarded him. There are so many different metaphors and ideas in this that I loved. It was sad and heartbreaking, but I wasn't disappointed by this. I loved it. Next is Animal Farm by George Orwell, and this is about animals in a farm that revolt against the humans that are running the farm, and they end up running the farm themselves, and they vow that they will never become tyrannical or controlling like the humans, but slowly and surely the bigger and smarter animals start taking more control. This was such a haunting book. I read it in one sitting. I was excited, I had high hopes, and I was definitely not disappointed. I liked it more than The Metamorphosis. I'm so excited to read more George Orwell books. It's such a short book that I can't talk about it much or else I'll spoil it, but it is so good, so haunting. Definitely recommend it. Next is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and this is my favorite classic. I found out about Anna Karenina because I read A Series of Unfortunate Events where it was mentioned, and it's one of my sister's all-time favorite books. And I was so excited for this and I loved it. Like I said, it's my favorite classic. It is essentially about Russian society. We're following a lot of different storylines and plots. The main one of Anna Karenina is about a woman who has an affair with a younger man and runs off with him, but there's also some really sweet romance plot lines. It's so rich and immersive. This is a kind of book that you really need to savor. I read it so quickly, much quicker than you're supposed to, because I was just so excited. But I want to reread this soon and I want to read it really slowly and just savor everything. And the last book on this list is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This is about a young girl who falls into a rabbit hole and finds herself in this wonderland that is strange and magical and whimsical. I love this one so much. I had been an avid fan of Alice in Wonderland before reading the book, and I knew I would like it when I went into it, and I did. I like it more than the movies because there's just so many strange things that the movies didn't add, and the illustrations are so beautiful. Final section is classics that I didn't think I would like that I actually did like, and I have 4 books here too. The first one is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and this is about a angsty teenager who is running off from a boarding school that he has failed at, and he runs off to New York. He lives in New York, but he doesn't go home. He just stays in a hotel and explores his own grief and the city on his own. I love this one. It was so atmospheric and unique as well because the narration is not very popular or conventional. I spoke about this in a few videos before. I didn't think I would like this when I went into it because I had gotten the wrong book I wanted to get for Esme with Love and Squalor, but I accidentally got this one and I was like, let me just get this out of my reading list, but I ended up enjoying it. Next is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. It is about the Salem witch trials, but it is used as an allegory for the Red Scare that was happening in the US in the 40s. And Arthur Miller wrote this after getting out of jail after he was accused of having communist affiliations. This was something I had to read for school, for drama, and I thought it would just be another one of those boring books that I had to read for school, but I ended up enjoying it so much. It is a play, so it's easier to read, but because it's set in such an old time, the writing is a little bit difficult to understand. Really haunting ending though, and I would definitely recommend this. Next is Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, and in this book we are following a horse from when he is very young, and then as he grows up and he's passed from owner to owner. It is set in a time when horses were still the main use of transport. I love this one. I didn't think I would like it because I don't usually like following animals in books. I'm definitely much more of a fan of it now, but when I picked it up I was like, this is probably going to be a bit boring. Like, I don't really care much for following animals in books, but this was so sweet and cozy and it was easy to read, and I cried, and I didn't expect myself to cry, but it was so heartwarming. And finally is The Trial by Franz Kafka, and this is about a man who wakes up to find himself under arrest, and he doesn't know what he's under arrest for, and the way the trial is going on is very strange and unnatural, and the whole time he's trying to figure out what he's being accused of while defending himself. This one was so good. So I didn't go into this thinking I wouldn't like it, but it was the first Kafka novel I read, and I had expected The Metamorphosis to be better, so I thought this is just going to be one of his okay books, and then The Metamorphosis is going to be better, but I love this one. Again, haunting ending. I'm saying this so much, but it was so good and strange. The context and all the allegories and metaphors in this were so good and interesting to read about. That is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, again, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.